Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. So in this video I want to talk to you about a company that has been on a tear in May. The stock price more than 3x in May, and this company has a lot of implications for Rocket Lab, and it might be an interesting investment if you're interested in space stocks. Now, full disclosure, I'm not investing in this company. I'm not planning to invest in this company, but I definitely think if you're a Rocket Lab investor, it's very much worth to keep an eye on this company because this is going to help you see where Rocket Lab is going in the future and where the stock is going in the future. So the company that I want to talk to you about is ASTS, that's their ticker symbol, and it's called AST Space Mobile. And it's going to be a very interesting video. So please make sure that you're subscribed. And before we start, I just want to give a shout out to our wonderful members. We have 12 members, quite unbelievable. Somebody joined today. Thank you, Brian. And I really, really appreciate you guys. And on top of this, we have 4 paid patrons. So you guys really motivate me to do this channel, and again, I really appreciate you. So let's begin the video. Who is this AST Space Mobile company? Sorry. So their plan is to shoot up 25 of these satellites. They are called Blackbirds. Currently, I think they have 1 or 3 satellites that is in operation, but it's not this version of the satellite. And they have been on a complete tear last month. This is what their stock price has done. It went from $2.30 in, when was that? 14th of May, so 3 weeks ago. They reported earnings and the stock price went all the way to $8. And believe it or not, they might be cheap at this price. I'm subscribed to a very good newsletter called Case Closed. It's a space newsletter, I believe, by Space Case Taylor. I'm going to try to put a link to it in the description box below. It's a free newsletter that you can sign up to. And he actually brings out some very good points about this company that I want to take up with you. So let me just make sure my head is not very big so we can see everything. Here we go. So the Space Mobile cult has been feeling pretty good after AST Space Mobile absolutely insane May, where shares increased 275% in the month following commercial agreements with both AT&T and Verizon. ASTS shares were near all-time lows in April following 1, the company's much delayed, dilutive and somewhat underwhelming funder announcements in January, and 2, further delays for the launch of the company's first revenue-generating satellites shifted from Q2 to Q3. So again, this company is still pre-revenue. However, there was a vibe shift. First, on 15th of May, the company reported Q1 earnings, which included a number of positive developments, including the signing of the company's first official commercial agreement with AT&T, which management believes created a template for other telcos to build off of and would lead to more commercial agreements. So the reason why this is so connected to Rocket Lab is because this company is a space infrastructure company, and this company cannot fly its own satellites, so they rely on launch providers. And I believe, I haven't studied them enough, but I believe that they also outsource the building of the satellite to a company. So this is, if Rocket Lab would want to come into this business, they would be very disruptive because both they get access to very cheap launch and they can basically make their own satellites. And even if Rocket Lab doesn't want to go into this business, the key takeaways from this is how the market values this. you will be able to see the numbers of this business, because if Rocket Lab is going to do something like this, so they will probably have similar gross margins, similar costs, although the cost we know will be, much lower, and the market is going to assign a similar multiple to the number. So this is why it has so much implications for Rocket Lab. So then on the 29th, in an unexpected surprise, Verizon announced both an official commercial agreement with AST as well as its commitment to $100 million of funding for AST, $65 million in prepayments for service, and $35 million in convertible debt. See here, yeah, whatever, that doesn't matter. So this is the good things that have happened to the company. Again, we looked at the stock price. Now, to understand this company, again, because as I said, Rocket Lab is going to have their space infrastructure division, and that division will have, I believe, better numbers, but similar numbers to this company. So let's check how good are this company's numbers. So 0 revenue in 2023, 500,000 revenue in 2024. That is nothing. I'm just going to go through the highlights and the things that are important for me. Okay, I of course skipped over the balance sheet, so we should have started with that one. Here is the balance sheet. So we can see that cash and cash equivalents is $209 million, which is not a lot, and especially because I believe they need like 400 or 500 million to fully fund the first 25 satellites that they need up in orbit to be able to even generate any revenue. So they don't even have enough to come to the level that they need to generate revenue. They have 160 million in long-term debt, and so keep in mind 200 million in your head, because let's see how much cash they are burning. Because remember that this is a cash burning company. So this is their cash flow statement, and you can see net cash used in operating activities, $48 million. So their activities would deplete all of their cash in 4 quarters, and this was at the end of Q1. So that means that they have cash currently towards the end of Q1 2025. But you can see that they're also burning cash on purchase of property and equipment and advance launch payments to a launch provider, and you can see that this cost is just going higher. So that's an additional 39 million. So these two numbers together is almost 90 million, higher than 80 million. So when you factor that in, then their money is going to run out in somewhere between Q2 and Q3 of 2024. So this is first red flag with this company. But now again, let's look at the good thing with this company. And when you do, because we looked at the past, right? We see that they are not generating revenues, but are they able to generate revenues in the future? And this is where it gets insane. So the revenue forecast for 2024 is still very abysmal because, the satellites are not up in orbit and operational. And 2025 is the first year that they're going to have the satellites operational, and they will be able to generate real revenue. And you can see that the revenue is going to skyrocket according to analysts. So it's going to go from 366 to 1 billion to 2.4 billion, and again to 2.4 billion in 2028, which is nuts. It's utterly and completely nuts. And if you are wondering about EPS, then you can see that they have negative earnings. In 2026, based on these estimates, it's going to be 1.3 earnings per share. And in 2028, which is not so far away from now, their earnings per share is going to be $2 per share if these analyst projections come through. Now, let's be really conservative and give them a 30 PE, because, you know, when you're growing this fast, you deserve a higher PE. That would put the stock price at $61.5 in 2028. Now, the current stock price is 8.60. So that is an insane upside to the stock, right? And again, this has very serious implications for Rocket Lab, because when Rocket Lab announces their own space infrastructure, the stock might react like this. And the revenues on Rocket Lab might look like this, right? Just in that section. So very much worth to keep an eye on this. But let's not all be bullish on this video. I know the channel is Vince is bullish, but remember, I'm bullish Rocket Lab. I'm not bullish ASTS, yet at least. And in this newsletter, this guy who wrote it, he brings up some fantastic risks that we need to consider. So number one is funding risk. I estimate at least 5 of ASTS's current MOU partners, so that's the mobile operators, are large enough to underwrite somewhere between 100 to 200 million in prepayments and strategic investments. So these are their partners: Telefonica, Orange, Claro, MTM, Etisalat, are all roughly AT&T and Verizon sized. Additionally, the US Export-Import Bank, a common source of project funding for SATCOM companies, is reportedly reviewing a $5 billion proposed SATCOM loans right now. Obviously, a large chunk of that is from the European-based Rivada Space Networks, which needs to fund its multi-billion constellation. But the XIM Bank generally loans at least 1 to 2 billion a year to US companies. So AST could be in line to receive some portion of that funding. Between these two sources, AST might be able to raise 350 and 400 million needed to fully fund its first 25 revenue-generating Bluebird satellites without further diluting shareholders. Remember, this is far from a sure thing, however. So this is where the key super much risk appears in the company, is how the F are they going to fund the first 25 satellites? Because one of the key risks got much less because the stock price went up so much. And how much did it go up? They are worth more than Rocket Lab. So this pre-revenue space infrastructure company is currently, in its current state, pre-revenue is worth more than Rocket Lab. So I just want to show you how insane that is. So Paper Boss, fantastic tweet by him. After announcing a Verizon deal, ASTS is up a whopping 350% in 9 trading days and is currently trading 9.32 per share. This is why I don't dare to write covered calls on Rocket Lab, by the way, because they can any day come out with announcements that is going to result in a similar upswing in the stock price, and my face would be ripped off if I sold call options on Rocket Lab. And it's not rare in the space industry. Lunar did the same when their lunar space lander was landing on the moon. This company did this. So I just don't know when this is coming for Rocket Lab. It might not come for many years, but I'm just saying this is the reason why I am not writing covered calls on my position. So market cap of ASTS is 2.4 versus Rocket Lab's market cap of 2.15 billion. The price to sales ratio is 2,135. I mean, it's even bad to see, but it's because they're pre-revenue. Whereas Rocket Lab price to sales is 7.7. The number of satellites deployed owned 3. There you go. So they have 3 satellites, but they are not the ones that they need for revenue. Number of satellites deployed to orbit for customers is 185. Revenue 2023 0. Revenue 2023 244 million. Gross profit was negative for both companies in 2023. However, gross profit was positive for Rocket Lab in Q1 2024. Cash on hand, Rocket Lab $564 million. So you can see how much better Rocket Lab is actually as a company, and yet this pre-revenue company is worth more than all of Rocket Lab. So I came to this from talking about how they're going to handle the funding. So we see that they need 400 million. So 400 million would dilute the shares about 20%. Maybe you add some stock market insanity to it, so maybe 30%. So that's a risk that you have if you buy the stock. If they get a loan, which I think they should do because they should have a very predictable cash flow in the future, then the stockholders get zero dilution. So that's risk number one. Risk number two, regulatory risk. AST has yet to receive market access approval in the US from the FCC. However, with both AT&T and Verizon, two companies that are generally opponents on its side, regulatory approval seems like it is probable, though admittedly I don't read FCC filings as obsessively as I do SEC filings. So yeah, I also don't think that is a problem. And here he raises a few very interesting points. So remember, this is a pre-revenue company, so we don't know how the customers are going to react to this. So telco carriers probably don't actually care if retail customers sign up for Space Mobile services, since partnerships allow them to use Space Mobile service as a marketing tool without committing more than their agreed upon investment or prepayment dollar amount, which is a drop in the bucket relative to the billions of dollars they spend on marketing or network capex in a given year anyways. Any revenue generated from customers signing up from Space Mobile will be just an upside benefit. So this is actually a very good point, because these companies partnered with AST, AT&T and Verizon, and they can maybe look at this cost as an advertising cost, because they can go out and say, if you sign up for AT&T, there is zero dead spots in all the continental United States, which is fantastic PR for them. And they might get more customers just from this. But maybe those customers don't sign up for the Space Mobile because they just choose AT&T or Verizon, understanding that if they ever need the satellite phone, they can always upgrade to it, right? So this is a very, very good point. Next one. I am always wary of companies pitching, we will capture the small percent of a large market, and after the iPhone user ambivalence toward the value add of SOS satellite texting, I can't help but be skeptical towards a large-scale customer adoption of Space Mobile. The government and IoT use cases are much more interesting in my opinion, since contracts can be larger and customers are less price sensitive and are willing to pay for a lot of certain capabilities. So I think that this guy is wrong here, because clearly satellite phones are not for everyone. But for the people where it's needed, I guarantee you they're paying more today than they would pay in Verizon or AT&T subscription. I had a friend who really liked, I don't know what you call it in English, like wandering in the forest. Like he did these extreme tours where he was gone for days and, camping outside. And he actually went very, very north in Sweden in the winter, where there is no cell connection. He's far away from any human. And he had to buy, I think, a Garmin watch where he could send text messages to his family to let them know that they're okay. And just the watch was like hundreds of dollars. And then he had to buy a subscription on the watch. And it was very, very expensive. And I believe that there's a ton of people who live in these edge areas who, would feel much more comfortable just paying $10, $20, $30 extra and, just having coverage everywhere. But it's not a big section of society. Like, it's definitely not everyone. But I think that the people who need this service, they will be very willing to pay for it. And the next point, we won't know anything about Space Mobile uptake until at least Q4 of 2024 or Q1 2025. I think that's also even way too early. Like the satellite is going up in maybe early Q4 2024 if there is delays. And it takes time for to get it going and for customers to sign up. but we may get some insight into Starlink plus T-Mobile's Satcom go-to-market strategy and success this year. So very, very interesting points. Again, this company might be a buy. If you believe the analyst projections, this stock is going to be a $60-something company in 4 years. So that is an easy 8x on your money from here. And I'm definitely going to report on this company, do regular videos on this company, because I think this has major implications to what's coming for Rocket Lab. And as I said in many other videos, I think Rocket Lab is going to have multiple satellite constellations. And the economics, it's very expensive to get the satellite constellations going, but it's very cheap to keep them running. So it's very interesting to see how the market values this, how the market reacts to this. And you know, once Rocket Lab announces their own constellation, and if you have followed this company and you know some other companies that are doing similar things, it will be very easy to value and extrapolate what the fair value of Rocket Lab should be. But let me tell you a secret, it's way more than the current $4. Anyway, so thank you so much for watching the video. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Let me know if you're interested in buying AST stock, or maybe if you have AST stock. I'm curious who's watching this channel. And if you want to support the channel, please consider joining and becoming a channel member. It really helps out. But the most important thing is that you're here and watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.